Welcome to the Wrestling Still Cool podcast. My name is KM, and again, for this week's episode, I'm going to be doing this solo. I know that the episode with Marcus Mathers is not up. That's due to a miscommunication between him and I'm working on getting that rescheduled so we can get that recorded and uploaded. The next thing we're going to be doing is you're actually going to hear a conversation between Just Incredible and myself talking about AEW's Blood and Guts, just to get his impression on what the episode was like and talk about basically hardcore wrestling relative to nowadays, especially considering he's a hardcore legend. But before we get into this week's episode, you can follow us on Twitter at WrestlingSCool. You can get us on Facebook as Wrestling Still Cool, Instagram Wrestling Still Cool, TikTok Wrestling Still Cool 90, and email at wrestlingstillcool@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you, so please provide any and all feedback. Now, part of what happened previously on Smackdown is that Daniel Bryan is gone and off of Smackdown. My interpretation of what's going to happen here is he's still going to sign with the WWE. Daniel Bryan has no reason to leave at this point. It's not that he was stifled in creativity. The only thing he might leave for is to do matches with people that we haven't seen him do matches with in the past. What I would like to see him do is work with a couple guys in AEW and Impact. I think those are going to be the two places he probably has a good set of matches with, especially, Daniel Bryan versus like an MJF or Frankie Kazarian or Christopher Daniels. Wouldn't even mind seeing him really work with Jon Moxley, even Cody Rhodes at that point. But if we flip it over to Impact, we have guys like Trey Miguel that could benefit from it, Josh Alexander, Sami Callihan, people like that. But if my guess, he's going to sign with WWE and probably will go down to NXT and start working with some guys down there. People like Pete Dunne and Ciampa and Gargano, people like that. If that was my guess. I don't think he's going to go to Raw, and I really don't think he's going to go back to SmackDown. But that's just my interpretation of what's going to happen here. I could be very wrong. I know he wants to work with people on the outside of WWE, and besides AEW, I think WWE might grant it. I can see where they might not feel TNA is a competition in that manner and would let him work with TNA. There was a report that they're working with MLW, so I even think that's a possibility. But we'll see what happens here. They might want to work within New Japan just to try and keep Bryan under their umbrella. Now, excuse me, I think if he's going to show up under Daniel Bryan? Not a chance. That's WWE owned. He's going to show up under like Bryan Danielson or Bryan Danielson is his real name. My fault. But he's not going to show up under Daniel Bryan. That's WWE owned. And I know it's one he made his main name under, but it's just not going to happen. That's just how they treat it. Going with the week episodes, Raw. I mean, Raw was Raw. Raw hasn't been good in a very long time, and it's disappointing at this point. They even did a coin flip for who faces Bobby Lashley on Raw with Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville. I get it. They want to present this like a real sport, and coin flip determines when there's two prospects for a possibility. But to do this to determine who faces Bobby Lashley is a joke. It's sad at this point, and it's one of those where it almost feels like Raw has no redeeming factors. And the worst part is I hate being negative on Raw. I hate being negative on the people that are involved with Raw. I think MVP is probably one of the best managers going right now in wrestling besides Paul Heyman. But Raw is just doing terrible. And this is something I kind of grew up with, with Raw and Nitro having the Monday Night Wars and being really, really interesting. And now they're doing a coin flip to determine who happens to face Bobby Lashley on that Raw. And of course, this is a WWE trope, if you will, where if there is a multiple person match, they're going to keep having variations of that match throughout the coming weeks just to try and like draw attention to it. Like, oh, what can really happen on this pay-per-view? But it just boils it down to so much to where it's almost not even interesting at the monthly events. I mean, at that point, like one of the things I think is missing from wrestling today, and you kind of see it in AEW, where the people that are having a match at a pay-per-view don't really touch each other before the match, and it draws interest that way. If you look at MMA and real fighting and real boxing, they don't have like these matches where you kind of get a glimpse of what could potentially happen between them. You just have to, sit there and sit on your hands and just eagerly and wait while anxiety grows. And in wrestling, especially WWE, they keep having these same matches over and over again where it just loses interest. It doesn't garner interest. It loses interest. And the only thing it's really doing is hurting them in the long run. They take away the possibility of what can happen by doing this. And it's sad. I really, really wish that WWE would kind of go away from this. Yeah, it could be kind of interesting if you have like these strange bedfellows tag matches here and there. But WWE likes to do it just to do it. And then they break up tag teams that are doing really, really well. People like the Iconics. The New Day, which technically Xavier and Kofi are still together, but they break up tag teams like it's like a fetish of theirs or something like that. But they had that happen. They now are calling AJ Styles and Omos the self-proclaimed phenomenal tag team champs, which, take it or leave it. You basically have Nick and Braun Strowman all over again. The little kid that was at the pay-per-view when Braun Strowman won the tag team titles with him. I like AJ Styles way too much for him to be in this storyline with Omos, and he probably is doing it for out of enjoyment. And AJ has expressed that he loves working for the WWE overall. But man, this is damaging to his legacy, in my opinion. AJ deserves more than to kind of be bringing up somebody that he has questionable work rate. I was not impressed with him at Backlash, and he had a match here with the New Day, I believe. New Day. They had a match here with the New Day, and he just kept yelling while he's doing the moves. And there is a part of me that really, really likes it when Chris Jericho does that. But this was just hammering it hard into the ground. It wasn't interesting. It didn't make him look like a monster. It just is like, what are you yelling for? There's no reason. And it just kind of took away from the match completely. There was actually a part in this match, and I haven't seen WWE kind of stick to this rule in a very long time. But AJ and Omos gave each other a high five, and at that point, the ref declared it as a tag. That was new. I have not seen that at all. Where in WWE it's like, oh, that was definitely a tag. That was definitely a tag. And even there's been situations where, someone slapped each other like on the back or something. They didn't declare that as a tag, even though that's been used as a tag when people that are tagging together are at each other's throats. But it's one of those that there's a giant loophole in WWE. And going back to Omos and the weird yelling, he did this horrible backbreaker, which it didn't even look like a backbreaker. There was like no pressure behind it. It kind of like he lazily put the guy on his knee and act like it was a backbreaker. It just didn't work, and I'm just not a fan of Omos right now. And I might be really, really harsh on him. Yeah, he's probably not very experienced, but they put him in a spotlight here with the tag team. They took the belts off the New Day, which it kind of is criticism that is deserved at this point. But overall, Styles and Omos won. This was just a domination. This was basically a squash on the New Day, which is it's undeserving to the New Day. And the New Day was such a great tag team, such great characters, and they've done so much for WWE that it was not deserved for them to be treated this way. But it is what it is. WWE does WWE things. Flair was in a match with Dana Brooke, and there was Mandy Rose for a save after Flair wouldn't remove the hold. It looks like they're bringing up this whole storyline between Mandy Rose and Charlotte Flair, trying to build to something here. I find it questionable at best, and the Flair thing where it has something going on with Flair and Sonya Deville is, in my opinion, not really working. I wish they would come off of it, but it is what it is. That's just how WWE is booking it right now, but it's not great. And there's a promo cut. Now, this is going to go into WWE talk. I hate WWE talk, the ones where they're like, oh, well, the matches is an opportunity. And they keep using this word opportunity. They took my opportunity. That was my opportunity. Now I have an opportunity for the title. Man, it's a match. Call it a match. I hate the WWE talk like that. And the worst part is it's leaking into other promotions. People like Impact and AEW are saying it as well. Granted, a lot of the guys flip-flop between all the companies at that point, but it's one of those where it's leaking in, and it's not a good thing to be leaking in. Can we just call it what it is? It's a wrestling match. It might be a match for the title. You can even say it's a title match, but stop calling it a title opportunity. It's not good. It's not good. Now, if it's a situation where the backstage character, like a manager or like whatever Adam Pearce is calling himself now these days, and it's just like, hey, I'll give you an opportunity for a title, but you have to do this. That's okay. But if you're having the guys call it on the microphone, that was my title opportunity. No. They also kept building this whole storyline between Humberto Carrillo and Sheamus. I like Humberto Carrillo, and Sheamus as the U.S. champion seems to be okay at this point. But this is like, it's almost like they're making a mountain out of a molehill, and it's not doing that great. I would like to see Humberto Carrillo get more wins, and we'll see where it goes from there. There was also this weird promo. Now, this was Miz and Morrison. Miz was mainly on the mic, deservedly. But throughout the whole promo, Morrison kept saying, yeah, now me, basically asking for attention. I think this is kind of building to a split between Miz and Morrison. I would like to see that. Now, whether or not that happens, I kind of doubt it. Priest had a match with Morrison. Priest looked good. Miz interfered. But ultimately, Priest won with a hit the lights, which is basically a crossroads. It is what it is. They had this. They also brought in Mansoor, the guy that was from the Middle East, that wrestled a few matches there and a few matches on 205 Live. Looks like he's on Raw. And that's how they brought him in. One of the things I don't like is they had a match where it's Alexander and Benjamin. This is ultimately leading to Alexander and Benjamin splitting up based on the promo that Alexander cut. But they kept referring to Lince Dorado and Grand Metalik as Lucha House Party, even though the other main character had been cut. It's the one that did the Selena del Sol, and I'm completely blanking on his name right now. But he left, and they're still calling it Lucha House Party, which to me seems like a slap in the face to him, because he's part of the reason why the Lucha House Party became a thing. Yeah, you still have some of the other members with Grand Metalik and Lince Dorado, but I don't know. I think that at that point they should be changing their names, but that's just me. Gulak is showing up here. He ended up having a match. It looked pretty good. Garza dominated in his match with him with a wing clipper to win. I would like to see more happen with Garza. Angel Garza, he was a good character. Gulak, I think they originally hired him to be a trainer. And if that's the case, yeah, that's good that he's being a person to help job, if you will, to kind of help prop up other people. But Gulak, to me, was one of those characters that he probably could have done more with, more on the technical wrestler aspect, kind of like a Bret Hart or even a Daniel Bryan at that point. But they didn't really work with him that much to help build him up. They had that when he was on 205, he was basically campaigning, and honestly, that wasn't a bad character. But we'll see, they didn't even end up doing anything with Gulak after this point. The match that RK Bro had, which with Elias and Riker, I'm not going to get into how this became a match because it was stupid. It was WWE writing at its finest and not really that interesting. But the main point I want to take away from this is that Matt Riddle did the floating bro. He landed on Elias's head. That might have caused a concussion. We might actually see Elias out for a while because of it. I don't know if that to be true because they haven't really reported on it and no news I've seen on it. But he definitely landed on his head. One thing I will point out is they keep doing this Alexa Playground, which I'm not a hater on. I actually think it's kind of an interesting thing to have Alexis do. But man, can we stop doing it at the ring and the backstage setting? Can we at least make it look somewhat like a different area? Because it wouldn't make sense for Alexa